guys again. So last week we were talking about, how to deal with, different customer service related issues, right? And because I wanted to use myself as an example, where, not only do you miss a deadline, but you also, do misprints, the worst case scenario, and how to kind of troubleshoot that and turn it into a positive. Since you're unmuted, what kind of win do you have for us, Victor, since last week?
What win do I have? I'm closing in on a big sale with the local soccer team. They have a tournament. They need 2,000 t-shirts, so that's a good
Oh,
win. And what else? I think I helped somebody on the chat on the session here today. I don't know if she's on today. Oh, she's on, but hopefully I helped her out. So if it worked out for her, then that's a big win for me.
I take it we're talking about Alma since she smiled.
Yeah, we're talking about Alma. Alma reached out for some help, and I just gave her some basic help, and then she ran with it. So hopefully it works out for her, and that's a big win for me.
It did
Oh,
make
that's really good.
a lot. Like you don't even know how much it's it's really difficult for me to make decisions sometimes. And so like I always have the fear that I'm charging too high or I'm going too low. Like it's like a battle with myself all the time. And so just you splitting it up and breaking it down and giving me the tools that I needed helped me out a lot. And so right now I'm just waiting. What he's talking about is I got an order for 112 shirts for a football team that are going to a camp. And so it's that whole decision on, am I going to screen print them? Am I going to print? Am I going to do transfers? And so with all the help that Edgar's given me by outsourcing and things like that, and he knows my health issues, I reached out to Victor to help me price it because I'm like, I know Victor will answer right away. And I know Edgar, you're super busy.
Not
But
busy for you. You have my cell phone. You could just text me.
and
When you text, that's Mr. Renault. He texts me and it's like, bam, right away.
and so then we figured things out together. And so he gave me some pointers on screen printing prices and things like that, which I it kind of opened my eyes like, oh, okay, so then maybe I need to just keep looking. I feel like it's just the area that I'm in. We don't have that many screen printers in this area. So the prices will vary compared to what Victor gets or what you get, Edgar, compared to this area. And and just like time wise and just different things. So yes, Victor, you did help me out a lot today. I
Awesome. So that's my win. That's my biggest win for the week.
and so
No,
then
that's always really good.
right now I'm just going back and forth with the artwork that they want. Yesterday it was one thing, today it changed, I guess because she took it to the panel and then the panel's like, no, like we don't like that. They're like, well, that's what you guys sent. So I'm trying not to do so much work without charging, which that's also hard for me because I'm just such a giver. And I'm just like, okay, well, what is it that you like? I'm trying to like please them and stuff, but at the same time with the deadline coming up, it's a really short deadline for me. Um, I know that it's like standard is 2 weeks and all that good stuff, but when it comes to artwork, they either need to like decide by the end of this by Friday or tomorrow if possible, or sometimes I get to the point where I'm just like, okay, well, if you don't decide by like tomorrow, like I can't get you what you're looking for and that amount by the date that you need. So it's a lot of stuff that I'm working on it and I'm trying not to give away my time and not to you know, doubt myself all the time. So yeah, but Victor gave me a little tool thing where I'm like entering my numbers because he's such a Excel whiz and I'm able to enter my numbers and it's helped me today, like with the things that he said and like how he the perspective he put it helped me like be like, oh, okay, well that makes sense.
And then for this job, Alma, what did you end up doing? Because it's kind of like if you're in the designing phase, right? You
Mhm.
can kind of guide the decoration method because you don't want to be thinking screen printing and then they want this, full color or a lot of color graphic.
It's
What?
just a two color two-color thing, that's screen print. And
Oh, okay.
there's more than enough days to get the screen print in and get it done, but the artwork needs to be approved, because either way, they know that if they don't have a certain amount of days, then I turn to transfer, and then if it's not that certain amount of days, then they get nothing. Plus the team mom, like she normally does vinyl, but a lot of people in this area don't like vinyl. Like they don't like it because after a couple washes or whatever. I mean, my vinyls lasted me a long time. I mean, I had shirts that I did with vinyl for like 3 years. So it just depends on how you wash them and stuff. But for the most part, a lot of people, especially sports people, they throw them in the hot cycles and all that good stuff, even if you tell them not to. So it's in this area, it's like vinyl is just not, it's not something that people look for. They're looking for the screen print, especially for athletes, because of this, like how it feels on their skin. So, but a lot of the stuff that you put in place, Edgar, for me, made it easier. It was just where I was struggling, like those high amounts, like my overcharging and my undercharging. And when I talked to Victor and I bounced my ideas off of him, like I'm right at the spot right there.
What price did you end up deciding on, if you don't mind me asking, and what kind of apparel is it?
It's just a plain long sleeve t-shirts, and we looked at the price, and I think the shirts were about 340 something. If they were like smaller to XL, and then like 2XL, they were gonna bounce like $2 up, and then 3 or 4XL is like another $2. So then when Victor asked me like what the price was for the setup, I told him it's 55, and then he asked me, what amount is the screen printer going to charge me? And then I said it was for the two colors. Last time it was 350 for the two colors. It's
$3.50.
yeah, it's 112 pieces. So when I had said $21, I felt like I was too high because it's 112 pieces. And then when Victor and I calculated it, I think it was like 15 and change for the regular t-shirts and for the regular sizes, and then like 21 for the over the larger sizes. So it averages out to like around what I was thinking. But he told me to press my screen printer for a better price for two colors. Well, it's gonna be three colors. It'll be the underbase and then the two colors.
Because I shared with you the pricing, I believe, with Cole from Shirt Agency, right? Some of you guys
Yeah.
might be familiar. I think Victor, you might have met Cole from Shirt Agency. He goes to a lot of the trade shows. He's a speaker. He does a lot of speaking, and he shared I asked him if he can provide us with special pricing, to share. And when he gave it to me, I was surprised, how competitive it is compared to even the guy that I use. And my guy is pretty competitive. So you landed at about $15 a shirt, Elmer?
Yeah, somewhere around there. Like depending on the size. So what I was gonna do is I just take all of them, and then I take all the prices, and then I just divide them, because I don't separate the prices like that, like to invoice them. I just put them all together because the money's coming from the same fund. It's all for that football fund. So
Yeah, Alma, just really fast on that sheet that I sent you don't give them anything but that last pricing. You don't
okay.
need to give them. You don't need to give them the setup. You don't need to get them anything like that. You're just like, this is the price per shirt, and then they pay you. Yeah,
I understood that because you have the setup fee included in there.
yeah, and the shirt costs and all that. You don't need to share any of that.
Yeah.
And then based on the numbers that you shared, because I know Victor, typically for wholesale, I know my rule of thumb was when you're doing wholesale and you're marketing up, it's like I like to not go below 30% markup. But it seems like this one is going to the end user. So this might be, what did you end up marking it up by? Like 60-70% from your actual cost to get to the $15.
That's a question that Victor would have to
The
help.
number I gave her was double the cost, doubling her money.
Yeah, Okay.
So
Yeah, that's really good.
so basically, she's just for writing up the ticket and getting it done. She's making like about $1,000.
Living the broker's dream, Alma. Like we
I told
talked
you,
about.
Edgar, I don't want to be printing on my own. Unless it's one or two or a dozen, I'm good with having somebody else do it and take my profit portion of
Yeah,
it.
because those are the good accounts to have, and just being able to, double what you charge, that's a big win right there, right? Because when you're dealing with wholesale, typically like if you can mark it up 30%, you're like doing good. 50, you're like amazing. But then
Uh,
if you're dealing with these end use and customers, right, that's like the best ones you want to deal with. You can double it up and still be really competitive because $15 a shirt it's still fairly good. And then
And
yeah,
the one thing
uh-huh.
I would add to that, sorry if I can interrupt. The one thing I can add to that, Alma, is you really need to think bigger too, because if you go really tight with your margins when you're at 120 shirts, the next time they come at you and they said they want 500 shirts, you don't have anywhere to go with your pricing. So you need to be able to know that you have room to bring that down in terms of what your margin is, but at the same time making it up with the volume.
And that's was one of my biggest fears is like, what if I start going? I mean, the one screen printer, there's one screen printer I have not used. It's the other one that I had gone out to. He won't take any orders less than 100. And so this one was 112, but then I was like, I haven't used, and then I was thinking about the other one that I used, and I was like, he seemed okay.
So you haven't decided on who you're gonna be using?
No, I'm gonna use the one and that I got in Grover, but it's like 15 minutes away from here.
Okay, and that's the one that's about
That's the
350 for
price
the
that
20.
I gave Victor to help me out with.
Okay. Did you end up taking a look at the price list that I shared with you for the shirt agency to see where they were at?
He has really good prices, but then I still have to pay for shipping.
And then that's kind of where, one of the points that I wanted to bring up where it's like you have to think of, and I've
Wait a
talked
second, I
about
have
this
a
before.
customer coming in. Hold on a second.
Yeah, no worries. So just for everybody else, it's kind of like, wanting to position yourself as like a West Coast distributor, West Coast fulfillment, because typically, when you're dealing with, different customers and it's going to allow you to scale up is to be able to ship and drop ship to different vendors, different suppliers. And, what I've done in the past, you just factor in, the cost of the shipping, you just, pad it into the actual, order because as an example for Alma's, she's charging, like to ship to ship 115 shirts. You want to be conservative. That's like 2 boxes. If she's local, you put it on the high side at like $50 for shipping. 112 shirts. That's an extra 44 cents. For shipping, right? And she's charging $15, and that's on the high side. You have more negotiated rates, but that's if you factor in, you driving the goods to your supplier, you picking up the goods. Once you build that good relationship, right, you can just drop ship to your customer, and that $55 on the high side, you'll make it up in time and gas. Just in gas alone, just driving back and forth, you'll make it up. And Benny, I see you have your hand up, and I think we had Kenny, not Kenny, Charlie. You had your hand up as well before Benny, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I saw Charlie up.
Yes, but it was an accident. My team is online as well, and they raised
Okay,
their hand by mistake. It's all good.
so you're a little trigger happy there. After Benny, I'm gonna come back to you just for
Oh
just for
yeah.
accidentally raising your hand.
I was gonna say to Alma, when it comes to like, well, Alma and all the rest of the people who does screen printing, I'm just curious to know, like, when it comes to big orders like that, like Alma, she had like 112 t-shirts. Do did Alma, did you include extra shirts for a margin of error, or and for the other screen printers out there, do you normally add additional shirts, for any errors when it comes to screen printing?
No,
Victor, what? Uh,
we just price out for what they order. Yeah, that's all we order too. we've been doing it so long, we've gotten it down to maybe making a mistake on every maybe fourth order or so. But the industry standard is like 12% errors, which if you're running at 12% errors, you need to go back to screen printing school because you shouldn't be that high.
Yeah, that's really high.
Yeah.
Yeah, but let's say if I give you 150 shirts for you to press, I'm, from business to business, I expect 150 shirts that are pressed nice. I understand there is a margin of error, and you're right, the 12% is pretty high. So what would happen in a case where, oh boy, okay, so if I gave you 150 shirts exact, but only 135 made it, and I'm short 15 shirts. So that's
Well,
why
we order the shirts. Our customers don't bring us shirts unless it's like for embroidery purposes, but generally we take care of ordering the shirts. So if there is an error, that's on us. But if you take in something that a customer brings you, you're taking on the risk of not being able to replace that item. So we frown on taking in stuff from our customers.
right, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I thought like if it was something between, like let's say if I say, hey, can you print me 200 shirts, but we got to be on the same page that the shirts that you have, I have, and then if I send you the same shirt just to eliminate that process of you having it in stock, that I understand, but not if it's different shirts. No, that's the big one right there. Yeah.
Yeah, for that kind of situation, Benny, and before I give my 2 cents, Victor, how do you normally handle that kind of stuff?
When it comes to embroidery, I request that I provide all the shirts, and if they provide the shirt, even if it's a source from somewhere that I can get from, I tell them I can't replace it. That's just my policy, and I tell them that this is the most rarest of occasion, but it does have the possibility of happening, and they just have to know up front. When it comes to me dealing with screen printers, I've rarely ever had a shirt come bad. Like I did 2,500 shirts for one, and one shirt came with holes from the manufacturer that we didn't even actually catch until we got all the shirts. And luckily for me in my situation, I was just able to make another shirt. So I used my free jet, and I did it, and no one was the wiser, and everybody was fine. But again, it's a shirt that I provide, so I'm able to get it again, and so no one knows. And I don't think there's anything bad with that. But very rarely, and we do a lot of screen printing for different events. We just had 3 events over the weekend. We had the Brooklyn Half Marathon, we had the St. Louis Marathon, and we had the Big Sur Marathon. And all of that merchandise was screen printed, and very rarely does it ever come back with an issue. And 12% is for me. I would never accept 12% as a margin of error. It better be 12% in my favor. We would have problems with that screen printer if that was the case.
Yeah, because when you're dealing with wholesale, like 5%, you're at the high side. 2 to 3% seems to be the acceptable, error rate. For that situation, Benny, like, when we were doing the in-house screen printing and I was doing wholesale printing, the arrangement that I had with the customers was, you're gonna drop ship me the goods, and if I have any, issues, any misprints, then they replace them and ship me the misprints. We rarely had misprints, but if it did happen where maybe they had a hole, like Victor was saying, maybe we had a misprint, they would replace them and ship them to us, because it was kind of like a partnership agreement. Because as an example, we at that time we had an automatic press. It was like, if I'm not mistaken, like a 10-color, 12 station. It was a big boy. So we would set it up, and it was like, hey, we had this situation. You need to order your goods today so we can get it tomorrow, because it's like if your press is paused, you're like, you're not making money. So we would, since we're doing a lot of school stuff, it would be like one color, two color, three colors. So you can kind of work around that with a big press. But that was kind of what was understanding that we had, right? But if you're dealing with a customer like Alma's, which is their end customer, then user, they're paying for 100. Let's say they're paying for 100 shirts, they're expecting 100 shirts, right? So if, so one thing is me being on the printing side, that's the arrangement that I had. Being on the customer outsourcing side, it was kind of like if I outsourced to my embroidery guy, if I outsourced to my screen print guy, it would be the same thing where if he had a misprint, the good ones be like, yeah, I had a one misprint, I just ordered it and replaced it. If it was, a certain situation, I would just replace it because if you have really good screen printer with really good rate, as an example, Alma, that's $3.50 for a two color. Off the top of my head, if I'm going old school, that might be $1.50. So you're maybe paying double of what it actually is, right? So, if you're charging, as an example, $1.50 and you're printing, a $4 shirt, right? And you make a mistake, now what, you're gonna replace, a $4 shirt for $1.50 printing. So it's kind of it's kind of like, how do you communicate that up front to your customers and just keep the same process the same? Like, how Victor was saying is like, hey, this is my policy. If you give me your good and I make a mistake, either you send me a new one or that's how it goes. If it's the end customer, like I'll supply you the final good. But those are things that you wanna, and it kind of ties back to what we were talking about last week, and what I wanted to pick up on is that how do you handle these types of situations where maybe you have misprints, and the worst case is you miss deadline, and it boils down to having everything worked up front. And Alma, you stepped out for a little bit, and one of the things that I mentioned is that once you have a really good partner, as an example, for, let's keep it to 100 shirts. I know you said like 112, 115, right? But let's say if it's 100 shirts, 340 a shirt, that's $340. So that would qualify you for free shipping, right? So if you have a really good relationship with your vendor, you drop ship to him for free, right? And then you trust that they're gonna print good. Then you can drop ship it straight to your customer, or you can even ship it to yourself. And if your customer is local, you can deliver it to them. So you have like an extra shipping cost, right? But if you're dealing with $15 a shirt, you can pad for the shipping, because if you factor in, you driving, if it's like 30 minutes away, you have to factor in that time, the gas.
I'll say one thing about policies. Like, I have them, and like you asked me earlier, what's my policy with handling blanks when people give them to me and I don't replace them. At the same time, though, I always have an internal discussion, like, well, what does this customer mean to me, and what's the bigger picture? Though the policies may seem pretty firm when I write them on the wall, like, I can be flexible if I feel like there's benefit, right? Like, I don't want to lose a customer over a $25 polo that they bought, right? And I messed up, considering that they bring me $1,000 worth of business. So yes, policies are good to have. They're good to state up front, and it sets up a framework of discussion when you speak with the customer from the get-go and as your relationship grows. But there's always opportunities to buy goodwill. And like I was telling Alma, she's like, do I charge a rush charge? I'm like, well, no, but tell them that you're going to cover the rush charge to make it seem like you're buying goodwill. I will replace that polo shirt, even if it costs me an extra $25 to do, and it eats into my profit margin. But at the end of the day, it's a bigger game for me. So don't be too hard and fast with those policies, but have them up front, because they are helpful to set that groundwork conversation.
I had I was trying to mute myself, but for some reason my computer's super slow. I had an order for a contracting company. The order that Edgar, you helped me with, I think, to price out and everything. And when I got the shirts, I ordered from Sanmar SNS, and I forget what the other company's name is.
Alpha Broder.
Alpha Broder. No, I haven't ordered from Alpha Broder. I just barely signed a for it.
Jiffy.
No,
No,
Jiffy's not big on the West Coast.
no.
Okay.
I've ordered from Jiffy and from apparel.com, but I ordered these ones from SNS, but like 4 of them came with like those grease marks. Like I don't know how to explain it, but it's like they look like wet, but they're like grease marks. And
Yeah.
so when I was looking at them, I was pressing them, and then I saw like 4 of them, and I was like, what the heck? You know, but like I like Gildan. I know it's a cheaper shirt, but if they like want that shirt, you know, because that's what they know, then that's like what I offer. But luckily here I have a Hobby Lobby that has Gildans, so I wouldn't have to order 4 shirts to replace them. I just go to Hobby Lobby and they're like $3. So I looked for the ones that have the same tag as the ones that I had ordered, because I guess Gildan changed their tags. And I went and got the 4 shirts, and I'm not gonna turn something in like that has those stains, because then it's like, well, for $3 or for $12, like
You can
I
send those back to SNS.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can send them
Yeah.
back and they'll send you replacements for free. Those 4 ones,
Yeah.
they'll send them right back.
Not know that. I
Yeah. And
had already tossed them in my trash pile. You know, my big
Yeah.
old laundry basket of trash pile that when you mess up
but
shirts. Yeah.
if you go
We
back
must have not
through
come.
your invoices and figure out if you have an idea of what you've taken loss on, SNS for the most part does rarely ask for the shirts back.
Well, I had one time where SN, that's why I mean I barely started with Sanmar because they carry Sport Tech, but SNS, they lost the package. Maybe when I first started out, they lost the package, and I'm like I'm sitting here waiting for the package. It hasn't gotten here, and like these things are due, and I remember calling them. This is the only time that I've ever had to do customer service with them. And I told them that my package was lost or I couldn't find it. And the girl ordered it right away and I got it the next day. And she said, and if you get the other package, just keep it. And I was all, what?
Yeah. That the same thing happened with a case of zippered hoodies that I ordered.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you for telling me. I'm glad that I mentioned that, because I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, everybody's like, oh, just return it. And I'm like, I don't think you can.
Yeah, you
But
can.
send those back.
Have like 45 days.
No, I just ordered it like, well, I mean, the time frame that I gave him was 2 weeks, so he's supposed to be picking. So
And just so you know, sometimes I've called Sanmar and I said, hey, Sanmar, I need 3 shirts, but I don't want to, you know, and so I'll call them and I'll place the order and they'll say, yeah, that's fine. You can order 3 shirts. I'm like, these are samples for a customer. And sometimes the lady on the phone says, okay, that's all right. We'll cover the shipping charge for you on this as well. So every once in a while, you can actually get away with that. And they do it all the time. I mean, it's not like you're trying to get one over them. They just, you know, if you talk to them and get that rapport with them, sometimes they'll offer it for you.
that's my biggest fear, is that if I switch over to a different brand, and then what happens if like, because I mean, I mess up stuff all the time. It's
Yeah,
like,
but you're not, you know, they're gonna. I order a lot of merchandise from them, and I order very little compared to their bigger customers. I always felt like they treated me the same, so I don't think you're gonna be in too much trouble with that. I mean, you like Sport Tech, you're gonna get that from Sanmar. That's the only way you're gonna get it. If you go with my Toltex t-shirts, that you can only get those from SNS. So, you know, they know you're gonna use different ones, and that's why they make these offers for you, because they want to stay competitive with you.
oh, I thank you guys. That's like really good news for me.
Yeah. Also, if
Yeah.
you have like a really big order, you can call and ask for a quote. And what they'll do is they'll give you a lower price for the shirts. Like my once a year really big order, you know, I order 2,000 shirts, which is like Victor says, it's a low number to them, but it's a high number to me. And I'll call and ask them if I can get a quote. And a lot of times it can be 10, 15 cents less. It could be 5 cents, but 5 cents across 2,000 shirts. That's some money.
Yeah, I do that all the time, and I don't extend that discount to the customer. That's
Correct.
my pocket.
Right.
And then for your orders, Victor, do you normally drop ship them to your customers or do you deliver them? What's the radius of your customer base?
Well, so I'm a drop shipper, right? Like I provide printing services for a lot of companies. So those orders just come straight to me and I deliver straight to the customer. If those orders belong with other items that are in our warehouse in Hollywood, then I send those orders in a big batch to Hollywood. They marry them with the product and then ship them to the customer. Now, when customers order shirts for me, like this soccer team that needs 2,000 t-shirts, I'll have my screen printer do them and I'll time it to when they're going to deliver, to when that stuff needs to be delivered. And then I'll pay the guy $100 to courier it from one place to the other. And I've worked with them enough now where I have the confidence in having them do that. And getting to know the outsourcing companies that do product on demand or printing for you, it's really important because that service is called white label service. And I do that with a lot of companies. I'm like, hey, I need you the laser engrave, 15 cooler mugs. That's something that's not within the realm of what I can do. I'll send it to them and then I ask them, can you please white label it back to the customer? And what they do is they ship it to the customer with nothing but a packing slip, but no pricing, no where it came from or anything like that. It's just, it's an agreement between the company that printed it and myself that says, look, I'm going to continue bringing you business, but in order, you're going to save me the trip. I want you to send the stuff directly to them, and they do that, and your customer doesn't know all the stuff that went on just to get that item to them.
Yeah, and that's really good that you mentioned that, and that's kind of what I had your situation, Alma. Once you get to the point where you have that relationship with a good screen printer, right, or even your vendors, because when I was doing like the printing, I would say maybe 95% of what I was doing was wholesale. So customers would ship to me, and like Victor was saying, I would like white label it, ship it to their customers, because I was dealing with a lot of promotional product distributors, customers that had contact accounts with schools and different events. They trust that when you drop ship it to their customer, you're not gonna be putting your price list, your flyers, your stickers, right? They're gonna be white labeled. We go as far as like customers can be like, hey, can you print this and include this in our order? But like, yeah, no problem. So we would actually print out their packing slips. Some of them for our larger customers that we would do fulfillment for, we would actually have flyers and brochures, not brochures, I mean stickers. So for all the orders that we would do, we would just get their flyers and stickers and toss them in the order, so it's a little bit more personalized. But it's that tying back to that customer service, because just you talking about those stained shirts, I take responsibility for maybe not covering that with you, right? And the conversations we've had, but they'll next day air, even if, like, let's say I've had situations where it comes from an East Coast warehouse, and then they mess up, they'll literally next day air the items to you, so you'll have them the next day. And like Yvonne and I think Victor mentioned that they'll tell you to keep them because it's cheaper for them versus them paying for shipping for it to go back to them. Then they have to deal with it, and so it's like they're gonna lose money just taking them back. One thing that I would recommend, to anybody that does printing and you middleman it, or even is to have, it's called a spot gun remover, right? It's primarily used for screen printing. Yvonne might know this, but once I used it for direct to garment, it was a game changer. Because you can have and then they sell the spot, remover. Its price is like 50, unless I'm wrong, Yvonne. It's like 40 to 50 bucks a gallon. But one of the screen printers that was really skilled, that was running our shop, he had like 20 plus years experience. He's like, no, don't order that price. Go to Home Depot and get. Yeah, I always get this mixed up. It's kind of like the thing that would, like, a nail polish remover type. It's not. I forgot what
Acetone.
there you go, acetone. So you
Does
use acetone.
the stain?
What
Is
happened?
that what? Did that remove the stains or did that remove the DTF?
It
It
removes the
removes
stain.
the ink.
It removes the ink.
Yeah, the ink stains. I remember one time I was blown away when it was like a white shirt and we had a misprint on it and it just blew the ink right off and I was like, I'm sold, right? Because I
I don't.
remember when yeah, they're like you before you had to go to a specialty screen print place to buy them. Now you can go on Amazon and put like screen print remover gun. They might
I
be
saw
like
somebody on Instagram like blasting
that.
like onto a shirt, and I was
Oh.
like, "What?" Because I
Yeah,
have
that's what.
some that I had for vinyl, but I mean, it would just mess the whole thing up. Like, and so I
Yeah,
just
because
don't.
you are. There you go. What Yvonne is showing.
Yvonne, I'm gonna want your gun. And so you just kind of like spray on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it sends like a fine. It's almost like a little pressure washer, right? That you adjust. You don't want it to be too fine because it'll just blow a hole right through the garment. It's like you get it just right, and then it'll just blow the stain and the ink right off. Especially for screen printing. For direct to garment, we would for direct to garment we would actually dry the shirt first, let the ink dry out, and then just blast it right off.
You guys have all the secrets and you guys are holding out on me. You, Yvonne, and Victor.
It's a game
Hey, we
changer.
said it. All you had to do was ask.
Well, one of you guys should demo it.
I know you guys should demo it because
You
I've
should
never.
demo it.
I have
Yeah.
like a ton of crap shirts in the corner over there because I just. What am I
Alma,
supposed?
what you should do, I totally recommend that when you get these 200 or 120 shirts done, you tell your screen printer that I want to be there for a press check. And then what they do is they let you walk the floor with them and you watch them make the films, you watch them make the screens, you watch them set it up, you watch them do the test sprint, and then you just sit there and you watch them do the whole thing and they mess up with any errors, you watch it go through the dryer. And just by watching your stuff and everything else going around, you learn so much. And you can do that. A lot of places will allow you to do that.
And there's this one screen printer that I still haven't gone to go see. It's in San Luis Obispo, which is about 30 minutes away from here. The guy retired and on their voicemail it's like, oh, just send us an email because our so and so is now retired, living the best life. And so if you want to come and partner up with us or for wholesale, just send us an email. But I'm really
Michael's
interested
going to show you.
like 2 or 3 of those automatic presses.
Okay, he's going to show you.
DTF tab. That's DTF.
Okay, so this is DTF.
Was that like a misprinted shirt?
What's that?
Was that a misprinted shirt?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, actually, this one has a hole in it. After we were done, we found the hole. Okay.
Yeah.
Should you not breathe that stuff?
I would always have my guys wear goggles, safety goggles.
Yeah.
Started taking tag off down here. You can see it's gone. But yeah, it's like pressure washer, so you don't want to get your finger there.
Yeah, so
my question, Edgar, is and it's just something I've wondered about. How do companies, and Victor, you may be able to answer this for me, how do companies afford free shipping? Because I have a gentleman in Pennsylvania. I live in South Carolina. He lives in Pennsylvania, and he orders shirts for me about once a year, and it's usually about 6 boxes full. And I'm just wondering how companies afford free shipping.
Economics 101. There's no such thing as a free lunch.
That's right.
They pat it into the garment.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a sliding scale here. First of all, it costs them more money to pull 5 shirts. So they want to do something to incentivize you to at least pull $200 in merchandise because they feel that's the sweet spot for getting people to order. So having someone work on a $200 order versus a $25 order, it costs them more money in terms of payroll. The second thing is, when you order 2,000 shirts, like you said earlier, it's a big deal for me, but it's not for them. These guys are ordering $200,000 shirts, and when they're charging us $2 just for argument's sake for the price of the shirt, they're paying 20 cents. So that shipping fee is already baked in. You're already paying for it. You're just paying more for it when you order under the threshold.
Yeah, just an example. One of the LAT shirts that we use. I'm not sure if you're familiar with LAT apparel, right? So I negotiated really good apparel rates with the sales rep, the national sales rep, right? So I hardballed them big on pricing, right? It was about $1.25 off of what they retail on like Alpha and SNS, right? But they don't do free shipping. So it's like, oh man, he's like, yeah, well you already grilled me down. Just think about it as an extra 25 cents a shirt you're gonna pay for shipping. So I'm like, okay. At the end of the day, I'm still saving a buck, right? Because I drilled them so much that they can't afford free shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So they and then kind of like what Victor was saying, and when you're doing that volume, the rates I've heard of, when I deal with these large companies and I was doing a lot of printing, they'd be like, yeah, just ship it on my account, right? And these are the huge companies that I would like. I remember I was doing printing for like Uber one time, and then I had to go, overnight somewhere, and I found out the rate, and it's like, dude, these guys pay like what I pay for ground is what they're paying for overnight, because they get like these ridiculously discounted shipping rates, right? So it's not like they're paying what you pay for shipping. So not only is the apparel like super like what they get it for versus what they sell it for, but then their shipping rates are like ridiculously low. That when you buy something under $100, they're making money on shipping. So it's kind of like they average it out, right?
Yeah,
So
for
then
sure.
they like definitely like, okay, we're making. It was funny. I was literally just watching a documentary yesterday on Costco, right? How their hot dogs have been $1.50. The hot dog and the soda $1.50 for like 20, 30 years, something like that. They haven't changed the price. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's their loss leader, which means like they'll lure you. They might lose a little money. They'll lure you in there and other stuff. And it's like what Victor was saying. It's like I remember when I would order stuff, I'd be like, man, I back in the day it was $150 to get free shipping. Now they changed it to 200. But I'd be like, okay, I need to make sure that I reorder maybe some inventory, some stock, because a lot of the times, when you're especially if you're doing like direct to garment print on demand, and as an example, you have maybe 5 customers and each one wants, 4 shirts, 5 shirts, or you're just doing print on demand, where it's like they just comes in, online. So you can't, as an example, if you get a print on demand order on Monday, one shirt, and you're gonna pay, $12 for shipping for that, you're like losing money right out, before you scale up. So it's kind of, just you kind of bundle it together, maybe order some inventory and, go about that way. But to answer your question, Ivan, yeah, they just bake that in there. So they're not losing money. That's why, when I build those relationships where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get free shipping on the way to the company. Uh, then I'm gonna ship it from there, white label ship it to my customer. So I might need to pay 25 cents for shipping because that's that's the end broker's dream, Alma, where you're literally just middlemaning, and that's why I wanted you to think outside your area, right? I would reach out to Cole from Shirt Agency. Like he's gonna be epic about it, right? Maybe not this order, but the next one, because you gotta think of like, oh yeah, I have my West Coast fulfillment place. Oh, I have my go-to for the East Coast. So you're not thinking like, you know, like let's say in my area, you're not thinking like I'm in Orange County, I have to find somebody in Orange County, but like no, I can find anybody, and I can find somebody in Nevada, right? I can just drop ship to them. They drop ship to my customer because within a 1 to 2 day shipping time frame, you're still really competitive, right? But that'll come with time where because a lot of the distributors that I would work with, promotional product distributors, they're literally just chilling from home, probably in their t-shirts and flip flops, just drop shipping stuff all over the U.S. I'll talk to customers and I try to bid on projects like, oh no, I have somebody on the East Coast for that. Yeah, your pricing is better, but it's gonna take 4 days, in shipping. I already have my East Coast person, so they're just living the dream. They're not touching anything. Everything's online. They're not worrying about driving and checking stuff out. If you can find someone, Alma, like Victor was saying, to go to their shop and see you, I used to charge, I used to charge, I think it was $285 an hour for somebody to come down and check my press out, right? Because it's like you have an automatic press, they're gonna come, they're gonna stop you, right? You're gonna be charging them hourly to, and this would be customers that had like large orders all the time. Be like, hey, I need to come down. I need to, do on press sampling. Like, yeah, it's gonna be $285 an hour, and every plus plus the setup, right? Because I would have customers, they would have like one color, but they would want to try to use different variations of shades, right? And they would just want to dial it in. So like, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna come, you're gonna pay, you're gonna be, paying for that service, because the last thing that I would want as a print shop is to have a customer come and just follow me around. If I'm correct me if I'm wrong, the last thing you want to be is like a Chipotle where they're watching you make the food, right? So it's like you want somebody to come to your shop, they're gonna pay. But if you, like Victor was saying, if you can find somebody that's willing to give you the tour, one thing there's a tour, and another thing is a full blown out, situation.
I have a question for you, Edgar. You were talking like maybe a month ago about getting these bigger, larger orders, and that they do come and look at like do a screen, like the walkthrough or whatever it is. How do you do that when you're a broker?
Yeah, you have that negotiated, like that relationship set up with your broker, and if somebody wants to come down to your facility, right, that's where you disclose to them as like, hey, this is my partner that I use for printing. Prime example, I'm gonna use this customer. Her name is Susie. She does containers worth of printing. She does like, last order she did was like for Costco for like 100,000 units, right? I'm talking about some crazy numbers. And the reps, when you're dealing with those kind of numbers, they do facility inspections, right, to get approved. And she's like, hey, this is my facility that I work with. They come, they approve the facility for fulfillment for Costco or for whatever customer, right? So that's just being upfront, because a lot of these reps, if you build these good relationships with these customers, they really, at the end of the day, they're dealing with you. They like your service. They're, if your pricing is good, that's all that matters, right? But in those situations where it's like it's a 10,000 piece order, right? And I've rarely had those situations where somebody wanted to come and I did it. And I've had a situation like that where I had to go to, utilize a different company, right? Then you're just upfront about it, but like, hey, this is one of our printing partners that we work with. Yeah, definitely stop by. Let me give you a tour. So you present it as like it's just another day, right? You're not like trying to hide anything. Like you're just presenting it. Yeah, no problem. Swing by. This is our partner. We work together on these different projects. Yeah, just let me know what time works for you. We do this all the time, right? And then that way versus like, oh man, how am I gonna hide this?
That's where I was a little nervous because you had mentioned that. I don't know if it was for Red Bull or if it was for somebody. I don't remember who you mentioned it for. And I'm like, shoot, if they like tell me that they want to come over here. I mean, I don't tell I don't tell the football company or the football people or the high school and stuff that I'm not the one that's printing. Like they know that I do stuff because they've ordered through me before, which is like smaller orders, but like none of the big stuff, that's all white label on my own, or or when I printed the glitter transfers like that, I don't tell them any of that. I know that one
No.
of them does the vinyl stuff for them, but she's the one that's reaching out to me like, oh, well, maybe you should price them because you could do the higher volumes. But I'm not gonna tell her that, oh yeah, because I have somebody else do it for me and I just chilling right here.
No, at the end of the day, they don't. The customers, you know, if you give them good service, good price, honestly, they don't care where it's made, right? I remember when I was first kind of getting the hang of it, and I had this big, I had a like it was a 5,000 piece
One
order,
second, sorry, I have another customer coming.
and you know I had a 5,000 piece order, and then the company couldn't handle it. I had to go pick it back up. Then I found somebody else, and then I found out that it was like I gave it to somebody who gave it to somebody who then printed it. So it's like I'm the middleman, and then there's like somehow there was two more middlemen that got squeezed in the mix. But you know you'll get familiar with that process, and you know Mauricio's already giving me that look. He's pulling the plug. It's 3:02. I apologize, Mauricio. We've gone over time. But other than that, you know, thank you guys for joining.
All right. See you next week.
Yeah.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Victor. Thanks, everybody.